Good morning, everybody, and thanks for joining for this devotion today. Those of you who have been watching me on Wednesday mornings know that I've been going through a little series of heroes in isolation. We've talked about Paul and Silas, about how they prayed in jail and praised God, and God brought them freedom through that. And talked about Joseph, about how he was faithful even in the midst of trial, and God blessed him through that, ultimately using him to save the people of Egypt and the people of the surrounding nations, including his family. Today, we're going to take kind of a different turn and talk about a hero in isolation who maybe didn't do the right thing, but how God perhaps showed grace through that anyway. So, I'm going to be in 1 Kings chapter 19, starting in verse 9. Now, just to give you guys some sort of background here, this is a story about the prophet Elijah. And Elijah has just been a part of this great miracle. He challenged the prophets of Baal to this sort of showdown to see which God was God. And I'm actually not going to talk about all the details of that because I'm preaching on that tonight. So if you want to catch more details about that part of the story, you'll have to tune into the sermon. But after this, I guess I can give you a little spoiler, which is that God gains the victory over Baal and over the prophets of Baal. But after this, Jezebel, the evil queen of Israel, still won't believe in God, won't follow God, and actually threatens Elijah, says that she's going to kill him. And Elijah, in fear, despite the fact that he's just been a part of this amazing victory of God, in fear and doubt, runs away. So, let's start in verse 9. There Elijah came to a cave and lodged in it. And behold, the word of the Lord came to him, and he said to him, "What are you doing here, Elijah?" And Elijah said, "I have been very jealous for the Lord, the God of hosts, for the people of Israel have forsaken your covenant, thrown down your altars, and killed your prophets with the sword. And I, even only I, am left, and they seek my life to take it away." And God said, "Go out and stand on the mount before the Lord." And behold, the Lord passed by, and a great and strong wind tore the mountains and broke in pieces the rocks before the Lord. But the Lord was not in the wind. And after the wind, an earthquake, but the Lord was not in the earthquake. And after the earthquake, a fire, but the Lord was not in the fire. And after the fire, the sound of a low whisper. And when Elijah heard it, he wrapped his face in his cloak, and went out and stood at the entrance of the cave. And behold, there came a voice to him, and said, "What are you doing here, Elijah?" And Elijah said, "I've been very jealous for the Lord, the God of hosts, for the people of Israel have forsaken your covenant, thrown down your altars, and killed your prophets with the sword, and I, even I only, am left, and they seek my life to take it." And the Lord said to him, "Go, return on your way to the wilderness of Damascus. And when you arrive, you shall anoint Hazael to be king over Syria, and Jehu, son of Nimshi, you shall anoint to be king over Israel, and Elisha, the son of Shaphat, of Abel-Melonah, you shall anoint to be prophet in your place. And the one who escapes from the sword of Hazael shall Jehu put to death, and the one who escapes from the sword of Jehu shall Elijah put to death. Yet I will leave 7,000 in Israel, all the knees that have not bowed to Baal, and every mouth that has not kissed him." We see an amazing story here. Elijah, even though God has just proved at Mount Carmel how powerful he is and how in control of the situation he is, Elijah gets afraid. Gets afraid of Jezebel, gets afraid of that threat, and runs away. And God comes to him in this moment through the still small voice. And you see sort of like these different things leading up to the still small voice. The earthquake and the fire, almost as if God was saying, I could come to you in judgment based on what you've done. But he chooses to come to him in this still small whisper. And he reassures him that things are going to go on, right? So you're not going to die. Jezebel's not going to kill you. In fact, I'm sending you out right now to appoint a new king and a new prophet. Things are going to go on. And for those of you who might read on through Kings, you'd find that, in fact, Elijah ends up becoming one of the two people that we know of in history, in the Bible, who gets taken into heaven by God before he dies. He actually gets taken into heaven before he dies. And so, man, even despite Elijah's failure to have faith in this moment, despite his fear in this moment, and despite his doubt in this moment, God is gracious to him. God is so gracious to him, reassures him, and then eventually calls him home to be with him. And so, man, if you're like me, you've had moments during this coronavirus crisis where you've doubted God, and your faith in God has been shaken. And I would just reassure you, that does not mean that God has left you. He still loves you. He understands that we doubt, and I think that he would probably reassure you by saying, man, if you believe in me, if you follow me, then I've got you. I've got you in my hands. I'm going to protect you, either in this life or the next. And so I just wanted to remind you all of that this morning. Even if you've struggled, even if you have failed to be a hero in isolation during this time, God still loves you, and he's continuing to provide for you and to bless you during this time. Hope you all have a great day.